I don't
left will agree with this committee that you were part of his entourage that came to witness his vetting on that day.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Did he give you any invitation letter personally, or he called you to be part of his vetting?
No letter. I call and congratulate him, and he said the 30th will be his vetting day. So if I can make a time.
Do you have any text message or any evidence from him that he called you, he sent you a text message? Because I have a text message that the caucus chairman, he has invited all of us to be here. And I can show you that text message as evidence. Did you have any text message from him?
No, Mr. Chairman.
On that note, you came on your own to witness his vetting.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Before I ask you to tell us what you saw or what you witnessed and why you were involved, are you aware that on this table, if the chairman did not invite you to sit here as I did today, you are not permitted to be where members of parliament are supposed to be? Are you aware?
No, Mr. Chairman.
So for the emphasis and for education, this committee sitting is just like parliament or the plenary. Now, as we sat down, if I have not permitted you, you are a stranger. And so we are going to look at you as a stranger in parliament on that day. And do you agree to that? If you are not comfortable with any of the questions and you want a lawyer, we can allow you to bring a lawyer so that you come back on Monday.
I would like to know that if I need to come with invitation to the vetting room, is that what you are saying?
I'll repeat myself again. When a committee of parliament is having meeting, and I'll read it for you from the standing orders, it is assumed that parliament is sitting. Now, in the chamber, you cannot enter the chamber to sit where members of parliament sit. And so on that day, our standing order says you were a stranger in the chamber. Because you are not a member of parliament, where MPs were, you are not supposed to be there. And my question is, are you aware?
I'm not aware, my lord. Oh, Mr. Chairman.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And there are consequences of disobeying our order. Now, I want to repeat myself again. Do you want to come with a lawyer so that we can extend your time to Monday?
I would like to come with a lawyer.
Honorable members, I would want you to extend an invitation to our colleague and ask that he comes back on Monday, because there are legal issues that we need to sort out. And then we also invite Honorable Samuel Kujetu Ablakwa to come with him on Monday again to testify whether he indeed invited him, because of where we saw him in the video among members of parliament. Our standing orders talks about strangers. And if you are a stranger in parliament, there are consequences of being a stranger in parliament. And so I will discharge him if members permit, allows me. I'll discharge him and then we can take him on Monday. Is that okay? Mr. George Glory Opeku, you are discharged until Monday, 10 o'clock. Thank you very much for attending. So Monday, please come with your lawyer, and then we'll also invite our colleague, Honorable Samuel Kujeto Ablakwa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we'll now have Honorable Minister for, Deputy Minister designate. Deputy Minister designate for local government. Is it for local government? Local government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Honorable Ritana Odole Soa. Can you please take the oath?
I,
Ritana Odole Soa,
swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
touching the matter in issue
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Honorable Ritana Odole Soa, first of all, let me congratulate you on your nomination as Deputy Minister Designate for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. Congratulations.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
You were not here when we played the video, and so I don't know whether you would like to watch the video first before we go ahead.
Honorable Chairman, I would want to watch the video. Thank you.
Very much, Honorable. Please, have you watched the video?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Can you tell this committee whether you identify yourself in that video?
Honorable Chair, I identify myself, but I saw the back of myself, my hair and a little of my cloth.
Oh, so that was not you. Is that you?
Me. It's me in the video. Thank you.
So can you tell us what you were doing here on that day?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm a member of the Appointments Committee, so I was here that day for the vetting of honorable nominees of His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Now Odole Soa, can you tell us exactly what you saw or you witnessed on that day. In summary.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We had carried on vetting to a level, and the next person to be vetted was Honorable Akando. It was agreed that he will be vetted that day. But when it got to his turn, our colleagues on the other side raised the issue of time. And so, after that, for me, I was sitting there as a member waiting to hear from leadership. And then I saw that the argument started. And so I was watching and seeing what was going to transpire. Then I realized that our brothers on the other side said they were not going to agree for us to continue. And so what I also saw was that they started beating the table and said they were not going to agree, especially Honorable Arnold Dompre. And I saw others joining in, and there was a little bit of a scuffle. And they were pulling the table that they would not allow the vetting to continue. And so I also just looked on, and I realized that they were carrying chairs, pulling the table. At a point, the leg of the table got broken, and they kept on fighting till the Marshal came in, the Clerk of Parliament also came in, and there was the argument for the Clerk of the committee to swear in Honorable Akando, which the ranking and his team were also against it, asking that she doesn't do that. And so I'll speak to that point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable colleagues, do you have any question for the witness?
Honorable colleague, in your view, from where you are sitting, I know you tend to sit on the opposite side of where I am sitting, where our clerk is sitting. Usually that is your seating position. At what point did you anticipate that this situation was getting a bit out of hand?
Honorable Chair, at the point where we wanted to get the vetting to continue, and then the ranking members said they would not allow the vetting to continue. So at that point, I was sitting there watching to see what was going to transpire, whether we'll be asked to end the vetting or not.
So did you make an attempt to, talk to your colleague on the other side to, calm down or stop what they were doing or something?
At that point, I realized the leadership were arguing among themselves. So I sat quietly, looking on and hoping that nothing untoward will happen. Thank you.
Since the appointment committee started this session, have you ever felt there were some undercurrents of maybe intolerance or something like that amongst the committee members?
Thank you. Normally we do meet before sitting starts, and views are heard from both sides, and so most of the time we come to an agreement before we start sitting. So that's what I can say.
Thank you. No further questions for now, Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable colleague, just since the appointments committee started sitting, was that the day that you actually vetted the highest number of nominees?
If my memory will serve me right, it would have been that day, but because we didn't continue, and we are all aware that we didn't sit on Tuesday, so we had a backlog that we try to balance here and there. And so we agreed that for Honorable Akando, so we thought that since he was the one in the chair, we asked him to come in. I'll say the chairman asked him to come in. We thought he would be vetted, but I would say that was the day I think we had the highest number. Thank you.
Did you feel unsafe at any point?
I felt very unsafe, but I had to be calm in my seat. And one thing I want to say is that when you look at this hall and the number of people that come in, if there's any danger, where do you pass? And I didn't know what was going on outside this room, and so I didn't want to risk going out. That's why you saw me seated quietly in my chair. And I would want to add that I'm happy that the rules governing this appointment vetting will be adhered to, because the number of visitors that troop into this room, I mean, it's not the best. And so where you have visitors or guests of appointees or nominees also joining in the arguments, I saw some of them moving from where they were supposed to be and coming around the table, and I don't think that's the best. So if we can consider even the in and out and the number of people coming in, I think it will be the best for us. I really felt unsafe. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to ask you, we know among the leadership on the other side, we have one woman who's the first deputy minority leader. Deputy minority leader is a woman, and I saw you sitting here. How was her composure in the midst of all the things that were going on? Because you were so close to the scene. Can you describe her composure at that time?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'll be wrong if I can say I can describe it. I don't recall. But she was sitting there, but I cannot say to this committee, unless I go back to watch the video, how her composure was. Thank you.
I ask this question because with all the things that are happening, I thought if leadership or parliament, we have a lot more women among leadership in parliament, probably we could avert some of the situation because of the calm nature of women. So looking at the whole episode on telly, I could see it was just in the midst of the men within where all these things were happening. So I was asking myself, even though the minority chief whip, he had a phone on, so we could hear all the things that he was saying, but Mama part was a bit calm. So my expectation was that I was expecting something from, because I always want to advocate for women in leadership position. I was asking myself, what was Mama part?
I want to overrule this one because she's not here and she's billed to come on. No, she's supposed to be here today. She's not here. But since she's not here physically, I want to beg of you to ask different question.
Chair, the question, because I just wanted to find out the mood, whether you overheard her calming, the leadership of the minority side, because that was my expectation. And because he wasn't on, he didn't have the mic, so I couldn't hear what she said. So that is what I wanted to find out.
Yeah, say anything at all.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. She was seated, like he said, right in the midst of them, and
The noise.
The noise. So I didn't hear her. I was also seated there quietly, and so. But my one disappointment I had was also how the clerk to the committee was threatened, and I don't think that's the best for us, having passed the affirmative action bill into law. And sometimes I believe, in as much as the men want us to be mediators or assume that we are calm people and that we need to come in when there are certain situations, I think the men should also consider us and deal with us well.
Well, the minority leader apologizes to us, even on the floor of the house. So Any more questions? Otherwise, we'll discharge. And
Thank you, Chair. I think one thing that keeps coming up is the issue of scheduling. And because you're on the committee, I'm going to extend this question to you, but only if you can answer it. Was there any discussion in any of your pre-sittings to modify the schedule based on the fact that you had a backlog to deal with? And was this communicated to the nominees, to your knowledge?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Yeah, we met and then we agreed that we need to modify the arrangements of inviting the nominees because we had a backlog for the Tuesday and it was agreed. But along the line, since some of the questions went very far, I think the time was of essence. And so, in as much as we agreed, I would say, I don't know at which point that the agreement broke down. Okay.
If you can recall, what was the agreement with regards to scheduling?
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Chair. What I will recall is because of the Tuesday, we had the backlog. It was agreed that we'll add some of the Tuesday to the Wednesday, and then some of the Tuesday even to the Thursday. So that's what I can recall.
on that note, I want to thank you so much for attending up on the committee. You are humbly discharged. We'll call upon you when the need arises. Can we have Honorable Charles Agbeve? Then after that we'll have the Marshal, and then we'll have Honorable who I just won, Emiliata, Minister for Fisheries.
I,
Charles Agbeve,
swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
touching the matter in issue
shall be the truth,
the
whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the
So
truth.
help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much, Honorable Charles Agbeve. You were not here. Were you here when we watched the video? You watched part of it. Please, did you see a gentleman who looks like you in the video?
It was me, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank God it was you. We've looked at the members of the appointment committee, and we didn't find your name in the list. Now, what were you doing here on the 30th of January?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the live parliament does not have a select committee on health. I was a member of the select committee of health in the 8th parliament. And so the chief whip informed us, pursuant to Order 217, Section 5, subject matter members will be invited. And so I was invited by chief whip together with Dr. Sebastian Sandari. I recall the then deputy ranking, Dr. Mark Nawani, and Honorable Hutoje, that the four of us will make ourselves available. When we come, then two of us, our names will be given to the chairman as subject matter members. So that's how I found myself here.
So what happened on that fateful day, since you were here as a member on subject matter committee? What happened here?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I recall I was seated where the Joy FM microphone was. And I came in before Honorable Akando took his seat because he was informed that right after Honorable nominee designate for transport, he would take his seat. So I took my seat Next to me was Dr. Sandari, and we were comparing notes, what we were going to be asking the nominee. So when Honorable Akano was called to take his seat, immediately he sat down. The minority started agitating that we won't agree. We won't agree. Then the chairman requested that the clerk administer the oath. Immediately he asked the clerk to administer the oath. The minority leader started yelling harsh words at the clerk. That you, the clerk again, you partisan clerk. In fact, it was quite unpalatable. All this while I was seated watching. Then Arise that they all got up and had 3 of the microphones on. Now when you have more than 2 microphones on, no other microphone can be switched on. So it was difficult for Honorable Akando and the clerk to administer the oath. So that was the first strategy they used to actually block the administration of the oath.
You said that was a strategy they used to block.
Yes, because
who used that strategy to
just
block?
honorable the minority chief whip. He quickly pressed on the consuls, and once you press 1 or 2 or 3 consuls, you cannot get a 3rd or 4th consul working. And that was how come whatever he said was heard loud, because he had his microphone on, he had the 2nd one next to him on, he had the 3rd one far away from him on. And because of that, the oath could not be administered. So anything he said was now loud, and all of us were hearing it. Then the pulling of the table started. In fact, the first thing that happened was the pulling of the table. When the table was pulled, the chairman was still seated. The consul right in front of him is where you are, where your consul is. It's exactly where his consul was. When it was pulled, because it was sitting on both tables, it fell. And once it fell, we saw the damage. Then I saw my chief whip here. And I saw my chief whip. In fact, before then, Honorable Jerry had come here to try and stop the oath being administered. But I saw 2 colleague MPs, in fact, first timers, push him off, so I couldn't go there. But when I saw my chief whip being attacked by Honorable Tampuli, I could no longer sit on my chair. So I moved to go and separate them because I thought it was getting out of hand. When I got there, I seen majority leader already there separating them. So now, I decided to take advantage to switch off their consuls so that the oath can be administered. It was there I realized that, the thing has gone beyond just switching on the consuls. The plugs have all been pulled out. So I tried fixing them. In fact, at a point in time, if you watch me, I was asking Honorable Akando and the clerk to try switching their own on because I had fixed 2. But they could try it, it was not working. So I tried the 3rd one. That was when I saw the table coming towards me because I was in the middle there. My colleagues were pushing the table and it was coming. And I saw that there was danger. So I jumped and sat on the table because it was going to hit me actually. If you watch the video, I jumped and sat on the table and then helped the table to come and fix at its place. We were all doing this just to get the vetting done and also protecting state property. When I got onto the table, before I realized, this time around, the table had moved and it was in the air. The police then came in and I told colleagues, like, let's move to our place. Let's move. Once the police have come in, I don't think we need to continue staying here. So we moved and then I came back to my sitting position. And so that's what brought me into the center of the action. First, the attack on my chief whip, who I thought was unfairly being attacked and I needed to go separate and possibly rescue him, and then also try to fix the microphones that had been pulled out.
Thank you very much for that account. I watched the video, but I didn't know the intention behind. I thought you were also trying to pull the table and, removing cables. But now that you have explained it, we'll further watch the video. I'll leave my colleagues to ask questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable colleague, did you see and experience breaches, various breaches in this room?
Honorable Chair, there were a lot of breaches, a lot. Before I could access the building, it was difficult to pass through the side. In fact, it was virtually impossible. So I had to go down, move through the downstairs, and then come up through this section. Because the numbers on the corridor and in the room was just unbearable. We had almost, I think if I'm not mistaken, 4 of the nominees' supporters all packed here. And that was the first breach, because as far as I know, when you finish yours, you must move out. But those who were yet to be vetted had all their supporters up here. And that was the first breach I saw. The second breach I also saw was we were too many in the hall. This is the first breach was outside. Inside the vetting room itself, all the alleys of where the visitors were supposed to sit were packed. People were standing. And I thought it was just too much. And so the air conditions were rendered useless. The room was really, really hot that day. Then the third breach I also saw, I thought in Parliament, I've witnessed what happened in 2017 on the floor. I had witnessed what happened when the E-levy issue came up. And I thought we had embarrassed ourselves too much in public. And this should not happen ever again in this chamber or this house. So I thought when the minority were protesting that they would not be part of it, the normal thing the minority groups always do is to walk out and do a press conference and like what the minority will say, let them carry their sins. That's what they normally do. But this time around, what I realized was that they insisted to stay and make sure nothing happens. And once that position is taken, it's obviously going to be conflict. Because we are also taking an entrenched position that the vetting will continue. And so obviously it was going to be a breach, and once that is breached, conflict. Then finally, because we had so many supporters in the hall and for nominee. Fortunately, when Jerry came here, Honorable Jerry came here, he was pushed away. So they were now around the nominee, including 2 other MPs, supporting him. And so if the fight had continued, and then they were identifying that we those here were now moving in, they would have joined us. And it would have been too bad. I thought we could have averted it. If Mr. Chairman will allow me, the following day, when the nominee was invited and asked to come for vetting, I realized that there was absolute calm here. Only 10 members were invited and only 10 Saturday. And so you could see clearly that there was clear sanity on this side. until the minority walked in and started again. But this time around, we managed to handle it and had Honorable Akando vetted. And so, these were the breaches I saw.
All right, thank you very much for your viewpoint and for your rendition. Moving forward, what would you, because you are here in this space, and you saw what happened and you experienced it, what would you recommend moving forward in terms of, you mentioned a bit about what maybe could be done, but moving forward with your experience and going through appointment committees, seeing these things done, what do you think should be done? And also maybe with crowd management, because now we have moved from just visitors to crowds. If you say the corridor was choked, then I wonder what was happening even on the ground outside, because usually people struggle to want to come upstairs to see what is happening and what things. What is your view on that?
Thank you very much. From what I have observed, once your name is mentioned, if you are not careful, the whole constituency will descend here in Parliament to come and witness your vetting. You can only manage with a few numbers. When you manage with those few numbers, others will find their way in here anyway. So you can't stop the crowd. What I think we can do is to still maintain the 10 that must come into the hall. What you can do is to keep the large crowd at the new member center, where we had our registration done for our tax. Keep a very big screen there and restrict every other visitor to that point. Because even moving all the way into this square here is a security risk to our work here and to the workers of the parliamentary services and ourselves. But when you keep them down with a very big screen where they could watch what is going on here live, and where they can be entertained and refreshed, I don't think we'll have too much problem. The crowd management will be far, 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 far better. And that is one recommendation I think Parliament needs to look into moving forward. Because whether you like it or not, you can't stop the crowd. They will find their way here at all costs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable, let me find out from you. You decided to be a peacekeeper because the police were not here. Could we have averted the situation if the police had come in earlier?
The situation would have been much better. The situation would have been much better. Before the police came in, I saw the marshals, the two, but they were helpless. What I saw they did quickly was to get the chairman out. That's the first deputy speaker, to get him out and protected. Then they came back to see how they can manage the situation before the police came in. The presence of the police tried to calm down the situation. First of all, by stopping others from joining in, and then also trying to stop other government properties from being destroyed. But members our minority colleagues were putting chairs on the tables. And when our colleagues removed them, they put them back. I didn't get there to remove a chair from the table, but when the police came in, they tried stopping them from putting the chairs on the table and further stopped them from getting further consoles destroyed. And so I thought the response of the police could have been much quicker. Then number two, there were police around, but these were bodyguards of MPs, and so they are restricted to certain situations, and so they were interested in protecting their MP than coming in to separate a brow So you could see them all visibly around in uniform, but they were not taking part in any of the separation until the police from the unit, parliamentary police unit, came in.
Well, are you impressed with the numbers that came? The number of police personnel that responded, were you okay with that?
Considering the crowd outside and what was inside, I don't think the number was enough. Because it was a crowd situation and anything at all could have happened. I would say because it was late, we didn't have more colleagues coming in. We those who were here and a few later saw what was happening that came in. But by the time they came in, most issues have been resolved. By then, majority leader was talking to the press. So I was thinking more policemen could have been deployed to ensure that absolute sanity prevailed. But the police were also a bit careful. This is a member of parliament. He's taking a chair and putting it on the table. How do you handle it? So you can see, even in trying to handle that, there was some diplomacy in going about it. So he waits when the member of parliament puts the chair on the table, then he goes for it. When the member of parliament wants to come for the chair again, then he shields him from taking the chair. It was a difficult situation for them.
Honorable Member, I saw this reverse citizen, Honorable Austin Game. Did you see him?
Yes, I saw him. I saw him at the corner.
And what was he doing?
Honorable Austin Game was a visitor. I saw him seated here. So when the whole thing started initially, he moved in there and tried speaking to, I think, the minority leader and the chief whip, minority chief whip. But my attention was then taken to another member trying to put a chair on the table and trying to pull a table. So I didn't know what transpired again. But I saw him very clearly trying to calm things down.
Chairman, I believe that this revered man should be invited as well to testify, because you know he's an expert within that space. So I suggest that let's get him to be involved.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Chair, thank you. Honorable colleague, you did mention the crowding in the corridor. Were people's ID cards being checked in order to have access to this building, based on how you managed to access the building? Did you observe people's tags being checked, people's identification tags or invitations being checked?
Thank you very much for the question. I didn't come through the main door downstairs. I came through the back door from annex. And so when I climbed, I saw a colleague on the first floor. So I walked with him. He was going towards the new, the entrance. So I escorted him to that position before I climbed through that side. So I didn't come through the staircase, through the main entrance, no. So I wouldn't know what security measure was there at the entrance. But when I climbed down, I didn't see any visible visitors tags on them. And the truth is, some were chiefs with their entourage protecting them. And so when I was trying to push my way through, they saw my tag visibly, but they will not budge, they will not give way. So I didn't want to push further, so I just went downstairs. I know my way around, so I went down the next floor and then climbed up to the other end. But there were no visible tags on them.
Thank you. My final question, you mentioned that this corridor was packed. Did you find non-members on any other floors as you tried to make your way into the vetting room?
They were on the staircase. Not on the floor, but on the staircase.
There are two sets of staircases. Which one?
The one used through the main entrance.
Correct. Very well. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Charles Agbeve, for attending upon this committee. When we need you, we'll call you again. Thank you, and you are honorably discharged. Next time, don't be moving from your seat to go and be. We have two other witnesses here. The Marshal, Deputy Marshal, and then, you are honorably discharged.
Thank you very much.
You have the Deputy Marshal and the Minister for Fisheries. Deputy Marshal, can you please take your, then we'll have our Minister finally. I think after the Minister, we will close for the day and then we'll address the press.
I, Wing Commander Frederick Bauer,
Swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
touching the matter in issue
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much, Wing Commander Frederick Bauer, retired, Deputy Marshal of Parliament. You were here when we played the video,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Wednesday and today.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Did you see Wing Commander Bauer retire in any of the videos?
Mr. Chairman, I did.
So that means that he was here on 30th of January 2025.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Deputy Marshal, can you tell us what happened on that fateful day from your point as Deputy Marshal?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The day in question saw a lot of supporters of nominees filling up virtually every space we had within the parliamentary precincts. In fact, we had noticed it appeared some had even slept over around the funeral grounds areas, and some of these were prominent people and I'm even suspecting chiefs. It was that. So on the evening of that day, we had put in place measures to make sure that only nominated people would come up to this room. But then, what we suspected happening, we were coordinating all the efforts we had put in place, but then chiefs would come with entourage, people from the ministries would come, and somehow, they managed to get access up here, even though it wasn't probably the time for their nominee. So we realized that the corridors were getting full. Down there, as we were trying to control, was also getting full. We tried preventing the drumming and dancing within the forecourt just outside the staff entrance. These were the activities happening. But around 21:45, we came up here and noticed that there was some disagreement among committee members as to whether vetting was to continue or vetting was to stop. Now, what my concentration was then to look out for strategies to try and prevent the situation from escalating into fisticuffs. So we're looking around to see what was going to happen and how best we could solve the situation. And in most of the cases, we had to get inside to just try to prevent one MP from getting physical access to the other because that would then be fighting. That was what we were concentrating doing. And virtually, we brought in some of our parliamentary protection units who were then in uniform to come and assess the situation because it was getting chaotic, the table was raised, a leg was broken, and all that stuff. So, Mr. Chairman, basically, that was a bit of a summary of the events of the day.
Thank you very much. I will ask my colleagues to take their bite.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, we saw the videos and your short testimony says that
there were a lot of people around, occupying the whole place, and even the car parks and then the funeral grounds. But all these people who came, the question that I want to ask is, were they all properly admitted into the presence of Parliament? Were they all admitted? Because Parliament, we have a gate, and the gate is supposed to keep people at bay. I have seen people who have come and then we have been able to stop them. Whether they are coming as protesters or they are coming as whatnot, I've seen it. And so that day, the people who came, were they all properly admitted into the presence of Parliament?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, on the day in question, what we tried doing was to prevent buses from busing people right into the compound. But admittedly, the entire parliamentary presence does not belong to us. The state protocol area where funerals are conducted is virtually out of our control. On several occasions, funerals are organized there, vehicles are parked there, and we virtually have no idea. And sometimes these funerals can go deep into the night. So on the question of whether all these were properly admitted, Mr. Chairman, the whole environment is not ours. Had it been that we have an area carved out called Parliament, then we could probably ensure that strict access is granted into that space. But people are not particularly prevented from walking to the precinct because there are other institutions that we occupy the general area with.
So are you saying that it is not possible for the Marshal Department to put in place any measures to control the area that you would have considered to be the area for Parliament as against the whole area within the presence of Parliament? Do you have any place that you can carve out, and then that is a place where you can say that from this point we are in charge? Do you have any sighting?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We've made proposals, and I'm sure it's being considered by management, but it's still in the drafting point. So if that is considered, I'm sure a team might be constituted to see where best can be carved out and what measures we can put in place to make sure that there's a certain area we can at least have effective control over and put in place the proper access control measures so that uninvited guests are not then find their way into our close perimeters.
Finally, we understand, we have been made to understand as a committee, the cards were issued to allow people to come into this particular place. The rest of the people were left outside, and there was nothing to use in controlling them. Do you think that that particular situation is helpful?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, we reconfigured the foyer down there with a number of chairs. About 200 chairs were organized there with television screens on to transmit this process live for those who were coming and maybe it wasn't their time to come in. But Mr. Chairman, the numbers we had on that day, chiefs came. I mean, the chief would come with one invitation card, but he had 20 people following him. They are well accosted customarily. Even the police were put in there to stop them. Sometimes, as a matter of traditional courtesy, would end up, giving way for them to come because some of these people were elderly. And that was the challenge. So at the end of the day, they allowed them access up here just to see what was happening because they will tell you they came all the way from Wa, from Damango, and these were the challenges they had down there, even though we put measures in place to prevent that if you didn't have a card, invitation card, you wouldn't find yourself into this room. But if a chief comes and his entourage is about 15, there's one card. Chiefs do not work alone. Those were the challenges.
And so, would you say that the scheduling of the nominees in terms of the numbers for a particular day contributed to the large number of people who were around?
Mr. Chairman, I may not be able to talk to the scheduling of nominees on that day because my concentration was how best we could keep order here and make sure we don't have things escalating.
Thank you. That will be all for now.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Rank Commander, just out of curiosity, is there an official document that is handed over to the Marshal's Department to inform you of who is to be on the precincts of Parliament on any given day when we have the vetting of any nominees?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The understanding is that only invitees, people who have been given invitation cards, and these cards are supposed to be 10, are the ones allowed into the vetting room to support their nominees. But Mr. Chairman, this is the people's house. If visitors say they are coming in to visit their MP, it becomes difficult for us without prior authorization to deny them that access. What we've noticed is that they say they are coming in to visit their MP, and instead of getting to their MP's floor or office, some of them find themselves here, and some of them, unfortunately, sometimes with the support of the MPs.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll ask the question again. Is there a document that comes to the Marshal's Department with the exact specification of who is meant to be in the appointments room on any given day? Officially, do you have a list of who is supposed to be here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that document counts. But on this particular occasion, I think the certainty of who was to be vetted on the particular day, clarity wasn't there. And what I noticed was that on the Wednesday, we had to go and bring in Oliver Vemaho. In fact, I had to take the summon to him. And so sitting was suspended. It was not done on that particular day. So I suspected that the leftover of the Wednesday were shifted to Thursday, which then increased the numbers because most of those visitors for Wednesday had already come with supporters who were in the compound already, and where to sleep was a challenge. In fact, when we were going home on Wednesday, myself and my colleague, we realized people were making do with the spaces just to find a place to sleep, and it was pathetic because most of these were elderly females.
Thank you. So, Honorable Chair, just to state for the record that there wasn't a formal communication to the Marshal's Department stating that there was a shift and there would be more people and who those people were. Is that correct?
Is that correct?
None that I saw. I might need to confer with my colleague to see if he saw that formal communication. But to my person, I did not see that because on that Wednesday, it was late when we took the summon to the gentleman who was supposed to appear here. On the other day. So I wasn't back enough to check the mails. So I would then need to confer with my colleague to see.
Please do confirm and let the clerk know before we finalize our report. We want it to be part of the report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I would like to find out whether, apart from the invitation cards, people who were granted access were given tags or ID cards as proof of having been admitted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. That's the normal visitors procedure. Once you enter the precinct, you are directed to the Parliamentary Visitors Center, where some details of yours are taken, and then you are given a visitor's tag. And then you go to the particular floor or particular MP you are looking for. But on this particular set day, I think even way beyond the 1700 hours that normal visitors come in, others had trunked in. And frankly speaking, they didn't all go through the visitors center to get identification tags. So we kept most of those ones at bay down there, and they were in the foyer watching TV and watching the proceedings.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one question. We all saw a stranger among the peacekeepers. He said he was there as a peacekeeper. Let me ask you, in future, are we safe? Won't we be having more strangers when even Parliament is sitting? Won't we be having them? And two, would you recommend that we move the vetting process to a more secured places, especially Job 600 up there, if we can move the vetting process from this place to a more secure place so that it may restrict the number of people. Naturally, it will be easier to control than an open space like this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I wouldn't say anywhere in Job 600 will be more secure than here. But talking about a more secured venue where crowd control measures could be firmly employed, like I mentioned earlier, we've made a proposal which we sent to our clerk, and it's being looked at. So I'm sure when some consideration is given to it, communication will go up to the board, and maybe it might be considered.
Well, there was a question about a stranger who, as a marshal, you are supposed to provide security to members of parliament as well as the precinct and properties of parliament. You were here when we have to ask a stranger to go and come back on Monday. We saw him visibly moving from one end to the other, to the extent that he was even, okay, so I'll leave that one. Now, did you notice that there was a stranger in the house?
Mr. Chairman, personally, I didn't until today. The fact is that our security personnel are all not still very familiar with all the MPs, especially the members coming in for the first time. And so we had encouraged all of them to always wear their identification tags. But Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, some of them just do not wear those tags. Because when you wear those tags from a distance, our security personnel are able to know whether this is a staff, or this is a member of parliament, or this is a visitor. So probably also still use this platform to appeal that even if it's difficult to wear, but we keep encouraging that you just wear it for us, because it's difficult to identify everybody. And myself and my senior colleague, we could not be in one place at all the times. We divided the work. We're going around to supervise the measures we've put in place. So unfortunately, I did not notice that stranger. And in fact, I didn't even know until he appeared this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Marshal, do you think that perhaps your response could have been quicker? When the chaos started and you entered, you were not in the room at that time, were you?
Mr. Chairman, around 21:45 was when we actually got up here because we were controlling some other issues downstairs. And when we entered, what we usually want to do is that arguments and disagreements are allowed in this house because of the democratic dispensation. What we try to do is to prevent physical contacts, fisticuffs. So when we enter and members of parliament are screaming against each other, we diplomatically are able to assist with that, because if you try, you must walk a thin line, not to be seen as belonging to A or B. And in observing that thin line, we get a bit too careful before we intervene. And when we intervene, we end up putting our bodies in between the two so that they don't have an open fight. But
that still didn't answer my question, whether you think your response was on time or a bit delayed.
Mr. Chairman, it's a very difficult question for me, because until there were bangings on the tables and attempts at physical destruction of things, where we now asked in the other uniformed police to come in. But Mr. Chairman, we had police in civil clothing who work with PPU. They were all in the room. We were all trying to do separations, calm down issues, try to mediate. I had to pull a number of MPs to the adjoining offices just to convince them that there was no need for us to go into this, because cameras were watching, and some of it worked. So those are some of the things we're doing behind the cameras and behind the scenes. But as to whether the intervention was early or timely, the difficult thing is that if we move in 20 or 30 policemen into the room, it may be seen as intimidation. It may be seen that you're trying to intimidate the process, and so you are not trying to allow the process to take its normal course. So we do all this balancing, and when we realize it's getting out of hand, then we move in the uniformed personnel.
Okay. Were you given the schedule? In fact, are you given the schedule for vetting? Typically, is your department given the schedules?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are given a schedule for vetting.
So you were given for that day as well?
I explained the circumstances of that day that I would verify with my colleague and get back.
Okay. Do you screen people for, because of the crowd in the corridor and within, did you actually screen people? Somebody may be holding a weapon, a knife, something. Did that take place?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. The challenge with those crowds is just one of the issues the honorable member has mentioned, and we're looking at measures at which, even from the main entrance, all such screening will take place. But like I mentioned earlier, having complete and thorough screening of people from the main entrances to the Princess of Parliament, where we do not completely own, becomes a bit of a challenge.
Okay, so my last question is, as marshals, you see to the whole premises, but there are times when people, even on ordinary days, they come into the lifts and they can meander their way through all the corridors and all that. That also falls within your purview, doesn't it? And what are you doing about that?
Mr. Chairman, it does. Most of our corridors have access doors, which can be opened with your ID card and badges. But respectfully, I don't know about honorable members, but most staff sometimes don't use the access badges to open the doors. And even in some of the floors in Job 600, realize members, because some of them don't wear their ID cards, which have access to open the corridors, the doors are left opened. And so one visitor who says is coming to second floor ends up at the 8th floor. Because ideally, when you go to the visitor center, you are only directed to that particular floor. And there are receptionists on each floor to help you access that particular MP and step out. But the challenge is that the visitor comes and then decides that he has remembered another MP he wants to see on another floor, and then the floor door is opened. So he might just end up getting there. We're trying to put in place measures to make sure we have men on all the floor. But as it is now, because of challenges in manpower and resources, we're not able to effectively man those things to make sure that loiterers then find their way into your lifts and the corridors.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your insight.
Wing Commander Bauer, I have only one question for you. From some of the MPs and witnesses that came, we heard them clearly say that there were press conferences. Some of their colleagues were on TVs mentioning that they were going to grill them. They have two of them who were to be grilled or who do not allow them to go through the vetting. These are all early warning signals. Did you pick that signal yourself?
Mr. Chairman, no, I didn't.
But do you have any intelligence in here that picks signals that there was going to be chaos on that day?
Mr. Chairman, the intelligence we picked was that we were going to be overwhelmed with crowd. That much we did. So we requested for assistance from the police to give us more men. But even then with that, as to whether there will be chaos on the vetting room, I would see that as maybe one particular member may be given a lot of questions. We didn't anticipate the chaos being members of parliament getting at each other.
I hope you have reported this to management officially. You've given your report about the situation to management.
Mr. Chairman, that is true.
Okay. So we can get that report from management to aid us in writing our report.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's been forwarded to the clerk's office. I don't know whether we'll then have we'll talk to him and see whether we can forward the same to you.
No, not from you. We'll talk to the clerk ourselves and pick it from him.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So there was a report on the chaos?
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Wing Commander Bauer, you are humbly discharged. Thank you for attending upon this committee. When we need anything else, we'll call you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We will finally take our sister, the Honorable Minister for Fisheries, who will have to take an oath. But because she was not here when we showed the initial videos, I don't know whether she would like to watch the videos first. Okay.
I, Emilia Arthur,
Swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
shall be the truth,
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture. You are welcome to the special committee that is conducting a full-scale investigation into what happened here on the 30th and 31st of January. I hope you have watched except of the video, not the full video. Please, did you see a lady who looks like the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture?
Yes, Chairman, it was me.
So, can you tell us what you were doing here on that fateful day?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a member of Parliament, I had come here to participate in the process, and two, to support some of the people who were being vetted on that day, especially the Minister for Health. And I think there were a number of other people who were supposed to be vetted that day. So I'd come here to give moral support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So can you brief this committee what exactly you witnessed on that day? In brief, summary.
Thank you very much. I was sitting right here to my right where this gentleman was sitting. And one vetting had finished and we're getting ready for the other one, particularly Honorable Akandos. And so the usual practice is the nominee will be invited and will take the oath. So we were like, clerk, administer the oath. And the clerk was straight-faced and can you administer the oath so that the vetting will start? And she said, I recall. She said, no, I am waiting for instructions from my leadership. So we were here, and then by the time I realized there was some noise going on in the front where you are sitting, the next time I see a chair on the table. The next thing I see some of the members of the minority walk over here where Honorable Akando was standing, and they were surrounding him, and that was when I got alarmed because and then some majority MPs also moved here and shoved the minority MPs away from Honorable Akando, and they took position. So that was when I was talking to some people who were standing there. What is all this about? I mean, I was Parliament. What is all this about?
Were you traumatized
I was
or surprised?
I was like, hey.
So
Not frightened. We've seen some before, but I did not, for the life of me, expect that from having just finished one vetting, one person, and we're just moving on to the next person, and suddenly all hell breaks. Don't know what kind of all hell breaks loose, and I was amazed to see a whole member of parliament carrying a chair and putting it on the table. The next time I saw pushing tables away, I saw a microphone being shifted away. I was, and in all of that, what amazed me was the calmness of the clerk. She was so calm, just sitting down, so very professional. I mean, she has class.
Aka fantimi sumaka igwe cho. You seems to not to be clearly here on that day. From your narration, you only witness part and parcels from your narration, even though you were here physically.
I was here, sitting here, and so I didn't quite understand what happened in front there that resulted in the lifting of
Good,
chair.
exactly, that's what I wanted to hear. Now, was there, you just mentioned that you saw some members from the majority side came to the rescue of Honorable Akando. Can you identify those majority from the majority side?
Yes, I mean, one MP from Western North region. When I see him, I'll see him. I know the name, but it's not coming now.
So we'll show you a picture now,
Okay,
for you to identify whether he was the one.
okay, sir. Thank you, Chairman.
MP for Control. Look for MP for Control.
Mr. Chairman, it's also in this video. I don't know if I can. Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, one of them is Mr. Kwame Pius, the Sefia Kontomra MP. He came by to shove away the minority MPs that had come to surround Honorable Akando. Then there's a second one I can see in the video back. His picture I haven't seen.
Thank you very much for at least identifying one person. Now, honorable colleagues, do you have any question for the witness?
Thank you, Chair. I want to find out. You said the honorable member for Akontomra came to give some protection. Was he under any threat at that time? And who was that person?
So, when the scuffle started, so when it was about the clerk, some of us around were saying to the clerk, administer the oath, and she was like, no, I'm waiting for my leader. And then the front there became, hey, then two minority MPs moved to Akontomra, to Honorable Akando, who was standing here. And I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what was going on in the minds of the majority MPs. But I think then they quickly moved and came and sort of removed the minority MPs away from their colleague, Honorable Akando, and they took position there. I don't know whether it was for protection or whatever, but that's what they did, and I think it's just a natural thing to want to protect your own. Nobody knew what would have happened here as a result of all that carrying of chairs.
So can we also identify those minority members of parliament who moved from their location to where the nominee, can you identify them?
When I see the pictures, I can identify. I remember one fair-colored one. I don't recollect the name, but when I see the pictures, I'll be able to tell. Yeah.
We'd like to show you some pictures if we'll be able to identify that person.
Yes, I recognize Mr. Shaib Ahmed Jerry Wejagbawi. I recognize him being one of the people who came to. His intention for coming to stand by Honorable Akando, I cannot tell, but certainly he was one of them who came to stand by him. And I remember me saying, what are you people doing here? What are you people doing there? Then Pius and the other came and took over.
So that is the second deputy minority whip, one of the members who were suspended and recalled back. Okay. Any other further questions? Yours was so short. Thank you very much for attending upon this committee. We are grateful to you, Honorable Minister. We will call you again when the need arises. You are discharged.
Thank you very much, Chair.
So, honorable colleagues, we have been able to take witnesses, about 10 out of the 18. We have Honorable Ahin, Honorable Konis Dauda, Honorable Dominic Bigna Adana Nitiwo, Honorable Charles Asiedu, Honorable Patricia J., Honorable Pius Kwame Nkwa, who was just identified by Honorable Minister for Fisheries.
These are the honorable members who were supposed to appear before us today, Friday, since it was postponed. And they were not able to make it. We've not had any indication from the clerk as to why they will not be able to attend to this committee. And so we will request respectfully that you invite them in addition to the following members of parliament who are supposed to be here on Monday. Honorable Alexander Peño Makin, Honorable Frank Anodompre, Honorable Roxanne Nelson Eche Kwame Dapamakbo, Honorable Jerry Ahmed Shaib, Honorable Al-Hassan Tampuli Suleimana, Honorable Michael Ochri Befi, Honorable Rudolph Amaku Jampa, Honorable Mustafa Yusuf, Dr. Fred Chei Asamoah, Honorable, and then you add again Mr. George Glory Opeku and Honorable Samuel Kujeto Ablakwa to witness for him. He is to come with his counsel. On that note, I want to thank all of you. We have come to the end of today's sitting. We will continue with the public hearing, and I want to repeat it again. We'll continue with the public hearing again on Monday, 10 o'clock, to continue with this time around to find out exactly, especially those who are involved in the breaking of chairs, tables, and so on and so forth. And so, members of the media, we will ask and beg of you that Monday you'll be with us. The Clerk of Parliament will also be joining us on Monday as well. We've invited him, and so he should be here because he was visibly seen in the video as well. Thank you very much for coming to cover this investigation.